to another episode of Founderama. Okay, so as you know, if you've been following me, if you're connected with me on LinkedIn or Twitter, if you've been following my journey, or at least if you just read about me, you know that I've been around in the startup kind of business world for 25, 28 years. And over these years, I've sort of launched my own startups. I have been an advisor for a lot of startups. I've been an angel investor, part of a venture syndicate, so on and so forth. So, all these years, one of the biggest things that I, as a founder, have always kind of faced and had to work through was the fear of failure. So, that's what we're going to talk about today. Fear of failure and how to overcome that. Now, if you've been in business for any amount of time, you know that failure is one of the biggest fears, right? So it's something that most entrepreneurs face. If you're one of those lucky ones that don't face the fear of failure, then you're lucky, and of course you probably have nerves of steel. But fear of failure is something everyone faces, and it can actually hold us back and prevent us from taking risks, risks that are necessary for growth. Because if you want to grow, if you want to do anything meaningful, there is always an element of risk. And if you're afraid of that risk, if you're afraid of taking that risk, then you're not going to progress much, right? Now, if your business is sort of stagnating, it's stalling, then one of the contributing factors could be that you're not taking enough risks. Now, I don't mean jumping into things, but rather taking calculated risks, right? So in this video, we're going to be talking about how we overcome this fear of failure by reframing failure as a stepping stone to success, transforming it from a paralyzing force to a powerful motivator. Okay, so fear of failure. Let's first of all define this, right? Because yeah, of course, everyone knows what fear of failure is. The fear of failure is an irrational and persistent dread of not succeeding, leading to procrastination or avoidance of challenges. So that is what I want to deal with. This particular definition is what I want to deal with today. There could be many kinds of fears, but this particular one is irrational. And the reason is, I always say this, and I strongly believe this, and I've seen this in my own life. There is only today. There is no past, of course. It's already done. And, to be honest, did it really exist? And there is no future, because future is not something that exists and we are moving towards it. No, that's one of the biggest lies in terms of how we think about this world, as an arrow moving through time, right, forward. Now, of course, there is no time travel, but time, in the way we look at it, is only a construct in our minds, right? Why? Okay. There is now, right now, the words that you're hearing from my mouth now. What about tomorrow's lunch? Well, tomorrow's lunch doesn't really exist as an event, right? It's not like it's already predetermined, and tomorrow's lunch, I'm going to have salmon for lunch. Let's say I say that. That means it's the future, right? But when we get to that time, that means tomorrow's lunch is a moment at tomorrow's lunchtime. Do you see what I'm saying? So right now, this is a moment for this video, right? So I'm speaking to you this. Yesterday, I probably thought about this moment and said, tomorrow's video episode on LinkedIn, right? I would have said that, but it did not manifest till this moment. Okay, I know, mumbo jumbo, but trust me, this is not hokey, right? So there is no future, because the event we're thinking about, the thing that's going to happen, doesn't exist. and it will only happen in that moment. So, why is this irrational? Because most of the fears we have in life are about the future that doesn't exist. And when you get to that moment when it really happens, you deal with it at that moment. Of course, you need to prepare for certain eventualities. You need to make sure certain things will not happen in that moment. But worrying about, fearing things in in the future that doesn't exist, that is what is irrational about this. And the persistent dread of not succeeding leads to procrastination and avoidance of challenges. When you don't take challenges, when you don't take risks, that leads to failure. So, how does it manifest? In the startup world, this fear can prevent entrepreneurs from taking risks, pursuing innovative ideas, or even starting a business at all. I know so many, literally so many people, friends, family, that have been talking about, their business idea, a passion that they've had, and they never get to do it. 5 years, 10 years. I know of a particular, my best friend actually, and he has a passionate idea. He's always been talking about this business that he wants to start one day, and that one day has not come yet. It may. And listen, look. I'm not judging anyone, right? Look, if you can start a business, that's fine. This is not about judging that. This is about what could be the different reasons for, whatever it is that you're not able to do, right? The same is the case with pursuing innovative ideas, right? So, what are the consequences of that then? The consequences, when we let fear dictate our actions, we limit our potential for growth and success. And I've seen this. I've seen this in my own life. The the best businesses, the most successful businesses that I've launched, scaled and then exited, they almost always came with a ton of fear to get started. In fact, a few of them, in fact, did not even happen, or did not even, no, a few of them almost did not even happen, right? So I was procrastinating, I was fearful, I was at the brink of saying, you know what, I don't think I should do this. And I did do them, and they ended up successful. Of course, there were also businesses that I thought I shouldn't do, I shouldn't get into, which I did, and they ended up disasters. But that's a different thing. It did not. There were disasters not because I started the business, no, because of other factors, right? So the consequences are this. Okay, let's look at some common causes for this fear of failure, right? The first thing is high expectations. The pressure to succeed, whether from ourselves or society, can make the prospect of failure seem unbearable. So when it comes to a business, if we're saying that we're talking about starting a business, most people don't start a business because they think either they're not good enough, which is imposter syndrome, which I want to do an episode on. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But they feel, because they have high expectations, so they're thinking, oh my God, I need this, I need that, I need to have everything lined up, I need to have a ton of money, I need to have the right team. Yes, you need all these things, but your expectations should be based in reality of what you have, the resources you have, and so on and so forth, right? Or from society. Now, this is, of course, if your business is running and you have partners, you have, teams, you have employees, you have family members who probably have certain expectations from you. And when you're faced with a decision, when you're faced with a challenge, these things pop up, and you feel like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't take this risk, right? So high expectations is one of the reasons for this fear of failure. What about negative experiences? Past failures can leave emotional scars, making us more hesitant to take risks in the future. So if you've done something, so if you started a business, it went bust, or in your business, you try to do, you know, try to take on some risk, and then it fell flat, then you will become more cautious, right? Now, being cautious is good, being overcautious is bad. And overcautiousness is one of the manifestations of fear of failure. Uh, but look, if you're in the right frame of mind and if you educate yourself, then past failures are not indicators of present or even the future, right? They're not. They're not. People say, oh, well, history has taught us. Not really. Has history really taught us anything? No, not really, right? And just because something happened in the past that led to a war, for example, should a society, should a race or whatever, a country, a nationality, a nation, should they stop doing what they're doing right now? Should they not progress towards I don't know, greatness, all that, right? So, okay, lack of self confidence. When we doubt our abilities, we're more likely to be afraid of failing. So, self doubt, which I'm going to do an episode, I think this week should be about this. This should be about failure and self doubt and all. So, maybe tomorrow, day after, I might do that. Um, Self doubt is a killer. Now, self doubt comes because of the lack of education. And when I say education, I don't mean traditional education. It's about just knowing the facts. If you know the facts of the game, self doubt diminishes, right? Obviously, I mean, think of it, right? So let's say you don't know how to play chess and you sit down to play chess. And let's just say you know a few rules and you will have a lot of doubts, right? Is it okay to move the knight like this? Does the rook go diagonal? Or so self doubt comes when you don't know the rules of the game you're playing. And education is what learning the rules of the game is half the battle for success. So when you learn the rules of the whatever game it is, right? Your market segment, your customer engagement, whatever it is, that then removes self-doubt. But anyway, let's do a separate video on that. I'm already going, and I've got lots of slides to go through. Uncertainty and risk. The unpredictable nature of entrepreneurship can increase the fear of failure, right? It can exacerbate it. Because look, entrepreneurship, that's why if it was easy, if it was simple, then everybody would do it. Then why would we have those successful brands and those, $1 million kind of windfalls? And why would we have failures? Everybody would do it. Entrepreneurship is hard. Startups is hard, right? Ventures, business is hard. Making money is hard. So yeah, so there is always uncertainty and risk. And this could be a cause for fear of failure. What is the paradox of failure in startups, right? So let's look at the inevitable part of it. Despite our best efforts, failure is an inevitable part of the startup journey. It is crucial to accept and learn from it, right? So the inevitable part of any venture you're embarking on or venture you're already in, failure is baked into it. It's like the other day I was listening to this discourse on the Dharma, and this guy was saying that good things, so good things come to you wearing a crown of bad things. What does that mean? So if you want good things in your life, right? If you want comfort, you want success and all, they come wearing a crown of bad things. So if you invite good things into your life and you want good things in your life, you got to be prepared for the bad things to be there too, because they come together. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm paraphrasing it, but it's a great concept. So it's people who only want good things in life and they cannot or they don't want bad things in life are the ones going to be most affected when bad things inevitably come. Look, just because you accept it or not doesn't matter. The reality is different from what you think in your mind, right? You may want only good things in your life. Bad things, even though you don't want them, they will come. So just like that, that is the paradox. Failure is a part of it. You will have failure. It's how you reframe it. So embracing failure, understanding that failure is an opportunity for growth can help us overcome our fear and embrace the lessons it brings. Because look, at the end of the day, if you can understand what failure really means, that failure is not something really bad. Yes, it has bad consequences, but it is how you look at those bad consequences, right? Look, yeah, okay, let's just take a bird's eye view. If you start a business and it fails, yes, it's bad, but there's also a lot of lessons you learn from that. Maybe that's not the right time for you, right? That's okay. What? Yeah, you lose a lot of money and you spend the rest of your life paying off the debts, but these are part of life, right? These are part of life. Okay, successful founders like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk have experienced failure but used this as a fuel to achieve greater success. So they were always aware of what this failure really means and how to overcome it, right? So this is very important to understand. Elon Musk, I mean, okay, Steve Jobs, yeah, classic, but Elon Musk, he always looks at failure as a part of it. Just recently, I was lucky enough to watch live during the event of the first integrated Starship takeoff, right? One of the biggest rockets with the Starship took off. They did not even expect it to take off the tower, but it went past that. And I think it reached the stratosphere. It was supposed to separate, but it did not. It just exploded. Maybe they triggered it to explode. A huge ball of fire, right? Millions of dollars. But Elon was happy. Their whole crew was happy because their expectations were managed. Right? That's not a failure. It is a success because of the lessons they learned from that, from taking off and at least reaching that 40 kilometers or 40 miles or whatever that it reached, and then it exploded. It is lessons for the next try, the next takeoff. And that first historic kind of flight, that is what's going to put us on Mars, eventually. Okay, so that is the paradox. Now, changing our perspective on failure. Natural part of growth. You got to recognize that failure is a natural part of personal and professional growth. Setbacks are an opportunity to learn and evolve. And what are these learning opportunities? When we fail, we gain valuable insights and experiences that can guide us towards future success. Just like I was talking about this Starship rocket blowing up, right? SpaceX, Elon, right? It's going to provide valuable insights. And therefore, you need to embrace failure. By embracing failure as a stepping stone to success, we can shift our mindset and overcome the fear that holds it back. Because look, if you think about it, fear is because we are afraid of failing. But if we understand that failing is not really failing, then we can overcome that fear, right? Okay. Lessons from failure. Identify what went wrong. So when we experience failure, it is important to analyze what went wrong and why, so we can learn from our mistakes. Yes, I know. There is pain involved. Of course, there is pain involved. And you're like, Mash, I know this. If something goes wrong, if business goes wrong, or if a marketing campaign goes wrong, or if, an investment goes wrong, I'm going to take a look at it, of course. Yeah, but hey, let's have it as a complete set of lessons that you learn, right? Adapt and iterate. Use the lessons from failure to refine your ideas, pivoting or iterating as necessary to create a stronger, more successful venture. It's not about giving up. Don't give up, even if you've lost everything. And if you know me, if you know my story, back in 2012, I almost lost everything. In fact, I lost everything. $1 million revenue per year went down to zero. I had to fire over 50 people in the span of 3 weeks after spending 8 months paying these teams out of my own pocket, right? And that put me into debt. So listen, I've seen this. I've seen it. I've been there. I've done that. And fast forward, maybe this is a series of videos for another week, but by 2016, the same business, I brought it back, started making $1 million a year again. I hired back more than 60-70% of the old team. And so, yeah, okay. Build resilience. Each time we face failure and learn from it, we develop mental strength and resilience that will help us persevere in the face of future challenges. So you need failures to become a better person, to become a better founder, to become a better entrepreneur, a business person. You need failures. If you don't have failures, you cannot become strong. If you haven't had a failure so far, then you either one of those extremely lucky ones or your next failure is coming. It's around the corner. Don't be afraid. Don't worry. Strategies for overcoming the fear of failure. So first of all, you need to have realistic expectations, right? So set attainable goals and acknowledge the setbacks are a natural part of the journey. So if you have realistic expectations, then when things go wrong, you're not going to look at them as failures, but rather just as opportunities to learn from. Okay, yeah, that's not the way to do it. Let's try a different way. Growth mindset, right? You need to develop a growth mindset by embracing challenges and believing in your ability to learn and improve. Embracing a growth mindset. What does a growth mindset mean? It means it's just like at the gym, right? You don't go to the gym and then within a month expect to come out looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? No. Growth mindset means that you have these challenges. It's one rep at a time. It's that muscle tear. It's that exhaustion. It's that tiredness. It's that loneliness. It's that, do you see what I'm saying? So that is growth mindset, and you need to embrace that. Self-compassion. Oh, yes. Self-compassion. Practicing self-compassion and forgiveness when you experience failure, recognizing that it's a part of the process and not a reflection of your worth as a person or entrepreneur, that is critical. So back again to my story, 2012, when things went wrong, yeah, of course, I doubted myself. I blamed myself. I thought I will never be able to do anything else in my life. In fact, I was contemplating serious stuff, right? And, luckily I had my wife, she was the biggest pillar. She brought me out of that and helped me sort of look deeper. And that's when I took up Zazen and meditation and all that. But yes, you need self-compassion. What does self-compassion mean? It means that you cannot blame yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you're not accountable, right? That is different. People now, they're like, they do something wrong and they're like, hey, I'm a human. So no. I'm not saying making reckless mistakes or not being accountable. No, none of that. But blaming yourself after having done all you can for failure that is outside your control, you should have self-compassion. All right. So you need to forgive yourself for small failures, big failures, and learn from them. Okay. So you need to create a supportive environment to make this happen, right? So you need to encourage open discussions about failure within your team or with fellow entrepreneurs, creating a space for vulnerability and learning. That's what Founderama is all about. That's why I'm trying to, create this community, and it's gonna happen. It's almost there. The doors are gonna open probably next month, right? So the idea is, of course, a huge part of it is me mentoring and workshops and all that, and matchmaking with, my network of angel investors, VCs, and family offices. Yes, that's a huge part of that Founderama club, right? But another huge part, and probably the more important part, is creating this network of peers, right? It's this open space where founders, just like yourself, they come together so that you can talk about failure, you can talk about vulnerability, you can talk about your doubts, self-doubts, and of course I'll pitch in and I'll try to bring in experts that will also pitch in with their 2 cents. But peer-to-peer communication, okay, celebrate growth. Foster a culture that values growth and development. Celebrate the lessons learned from setbacks rather than just wins. So it's not just about always celebrating, wins. You got to celebrate growth. You got to celebrate that development. You got to also celebrate those failures for the lessons that they teach you. Seek mentorship. Yes, connect with experienced founders who have faced failure and can provide guidance and encouragement as you navigate your journey. Why? Because look, it's like let's say you wanna, I don't know, uh, go to Mount Everest, right? You want to reach the summit and you're preparing. Okay, on that journey, if you have a guide, you have a mentor, you have a Sherpa that has already done that. They've done it 4 times, they've done it 5 times, they've done it 100 times, right? What would they? How useful would they be? Okay, so let's say you're at a place where there's a huge kind of a trench, right? Now this is, I'm talking about, I don't know, base camp 5, 6, 7, almost near the summit, and there's a huge gap, and you got to put your ladders across, and you don't know if the other side of this trench can hold the weight of the ladder and you on it and your equipment and stuff like that, right? But suppose this Sherpa, this mentor says, oh, you know what, listen, don't worry about it. I've been there, I've done this, and judging by the transparency of the ice on the other side, or the solidity of it, I can say that it's going to hold that. Or they might say, I don't think it'll hold. So let's actually move further down. Let's find a different trench to pass. Do you see what I'm saying? Of course, without a mentor, you could just try it and then, you may fall through, you may come up. But having a mentor, having support, and like I said again, that's what Founderama is all about. Not just me. Yes, I've been there, I've done that, but I'm not, the greatest entrepreneur on the planet. In fact, I face failures every single day. I face struggles every single day, right? I've had a 7-figure exit quite recently, but I'm in the process of trying to negotiate another exit for a different venture, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's not going to happen. I'm finding it so hard. So yeah, this is about bringing together people who've been there, done that at different levels, right? So that those who are at the beginning can take heed from those who are in the middle, the who can take from those who are at the end, and so on and so forth. Which all requires the power of persistence, right? So persistence in the face of failure is key to achieving success, right? This is what says that every time there's a challenge, it's an opportunity to learn and grow. Of course, there are some inspirational stories out there, and I've taken J.K. Rowling and Arianna Huffington as unlikely entrepreneurs. Just read their stories. They're so inspiring. Stay true to your vision, right? So as you face challenges and setbacks, remember to stay true to your vision and core values. That's why I always harp on about your vision and your core values. They are set in stone. They should not change. This will help you guide through difficult times and bring you closer to success. And just to touch that back to my story, when, it's back in the day when there was failure, how did I overcome that? This is exactly how I overcame it, right? By sort of having the looking at examples, looking at stories, getting inspired, and finally saying, okay, you know what? This is not a failure. This is something, this is going to help me do something bigger. And in fact, it did. At that time, losing $1 million business was the biggest deal, because $1 million a year was the most amount of revenue that I've ever seen. But since then, thanks to that failure, I've been able to build bigger things, right? So I hope you found this useful. This is something that, people don't really talk about. Yeah, they do. They just talk about it. Yeah, some of the cliches are, every challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. But no one really, no one really wants to face the real challenges of failure. And I'm here to say that look for failure. In fact, embrace failure. Let it come. Welcome it. And also know that when you're welcoming or inviting or want success, know that failure is a crown. So success wears the crown of failure when it comes to you. So if you have success, you're going to have failure. And if you have failure, you're going to have success. It's cyclical, right? Nothing lasts and all that. Maybe that's another video for another day. All right. So if you have any questions, hit me up. If not, I will see you tomorrow. in another episode. All right. Take care, go forth, and prosper.